Welcome into the Inside Carolina Day After podcast. I'm Tommy Ashley. That's Buck Sanders, Jason Staples. We are sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt as always. Buck Sanders, come to you first, as I always do. A win is a win is a win is a win is a win. It's about all I got. We can get into it. What's your overall thoughts?
Well, you gave me about a 20-second notice that we were going to talk about the offense first, and I hadn't even taken my seasickness medicine beforehand, so you got me at a disadvantage already. The offense was just, particularly the first half. I mean, I think in the first quarter they had 6 yards. In the first quarter, they had the ball for maybe a little over 2 minutes, and the broadcast, at least they did furnish me with one stat that I wasn't necessarily completely aware of, but I knew that the play count for North Carolina's offense was very low. I didn't know it was dead last in the FBS. North Carolina runs fewer plays than anybody in the FCS. And in the first quarter of that game, first half, something like that, Stanford ran 40 plays, North Carolina ran 18. And it was tied at halftime. How do you do that? How do you let the other team run twice as many plays as you do and end up with a tie score at the end of the first half? I can't think of words that convey how bad that offense was, particularly in the first half. It wasn't great overall, but in the first half, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, not even in John Shoop's worst nightmare did he ever field an offense that bad. So I don't know what other words I can use to describe how bad it was, but the offensive line had their worst game of the season, hands down, I thought. They had 6 penalties. The offensive line did. I think all of those 6. Well, there were 7 offensive penalties, 3 false starts, and they were all offensive line, obviously. But and then 3 holding calls. So the offensive line had a very rough night against a Stanford defense that is not, as we always say, the 85 Bears. I mean. The Stanford defense, not that great, but neither team could run the ball, which was surprising to me. I thought North Carolina could run the ball a little against Stanford. And we had a change-up in which back was the most effective during the game, which happens week to week. We don't have any real consistency there. So there's just a lot to – I don't know how you correct it. And I think Jason has an analogy about Freddie Kitchens shopping for pants at Target. What's that about, Jason?
So, in fairness, I want to give the source of this due credit, and this goes back to a text exchange between me and Vip. So Vip really sort of stimulated this, but I wonder. You remember the old Hager pants ads from like the late 90s, early 2000s? When you watch football, there'd always be something about that. And there'd be this whole, like, they're certain advantages. And I got to wondering whether or not Freddie Kitchens actually buys Hager pants because they're wrinkle free. And
just bored dad jokes.
I just, and the thing is,
that's a football dad joke.
Yeah, but I got to give Vip credit. Vip is the source of this.
Okay.
In that, and I think it's a pretty good one. But I think Freddie Kitchens' whole wardrobe right now is just wrinkle free. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of things though.
And Vip, in fairness, is a generation closer to being cool than any of us are.
Wait a minute,
true.
Sweet yourself. Hold on,
multiple generations. Let
me get this in for the joke. Okay, I wanted to see if it worked. I'm glad that you passed it off on Vip, Jason. Go ahead. I know you got more.
Well, I mean, I think Vip deserves credit for what he for what he manages to come to. I just put the brand with it and a couple other things, but yeah, he's done some solid work here. Anyway, a couple things, talking about what Buck just mentioned. First of all, I think it's important to mention that when we're talking about that play disparity in the first half, so you're looking at in the first half, like you said, Buck, massive disparity in number of plays. You had 40 plays for Stanford, 18 for Carolina, mostly due to 19 in the first quarter, 6 for Carolina. And that is partly the offense's fault. But the main reason, anytime you have a massive disparity in time of possession and all of that, a lot of people treat this like it's basketball. Like, oh, well, when you got a time of disparity difference or a time of possession difference, you just got to hold it longer on offense. You can't really do the Virginia thing exactly in college football as easily, because it's not like every possession has the same shot clock, and it's just a matter of how deep into the shot clock you go. The way that you hold the ball more on offense is you get first downs, first of all, and you do.
And they were 0 for 5 on third down in the first half.
Right. So that's the big part. But the other thing is the other reason that you give up these massive possession disparities and you give up a lot more plays. The reason there were 40 plays for Stanford is the defense didn't get stops and didn't get 3 and outs. I mean, Stanford was 6 of 10, 60% on third down in the first half. So this was both sides of the ball there. That's where it makes a difference in terms of anytime you see a massive play disparity, that means the defense isn't getting off the field quickly either. And I think that's a big part of of what we need to discuss later. I don't want to just assign blame to the offense there, but first half, Stanford averaged 2.5 yards per play. Carolina averaged 2.6. It's just the third down disparity and getting behind the chains with some mistakes early on the offensive side for Carolina, and Stanford playing where they stayed with the chains, stayed ahead, and managing to get those third and shorts and things. That was really the difference early. But yeah, I think overall the offensive performance was not very good. I think we all noticed that. There was one quarter where Carolina's offense suddenly stepped forward and looked competent, right? I mean, they had the one drive in the third quarter where they scored a touchdown. They averaged 5.3 yards per play in the third quarter. And then they had one touchdown in the fourth quarter where you had one big play that went for a touchdown, and that changed everything there. But otherwise, the offense looked the same over the course of the game. The other thing I want to talk about, though, on this is that I do think that this goes to what we talked about in the game plan podcast. What did we say about what you want to do offensively in this game?
You wanted to get the ball, push the ball downfield, run it to
Stanford
had
one of the worst pass defenses in the NCAA. You want to throw the ball.
You do, but
that's what you want to do.
But what we also talked about is, just like against Syracuse, you don't believe that this opposing offense can actually score on you. You don't believe that they can beat you on offense. And so if you're going to do things, you do try to push the ball downfield against their pass defense if you can, but that's going to require that you protect, and it became pretty obvious early that they weren't able to protect against this team.
There was certainly an OL problem there but I've seen OL problems before. There was more to it than that. It was a combination of poor play calling, just a variety of things, offensive line, the false starts. I mean, for this offense to do anything, they've got to stay on schedule.
Yes.
They have to stay on schedule. They cannot have negative plays, multiple, one, I forget what the averages is. If you have one, like 5-yard penalty on the drive, your probability of scoring on that drive probably drops in half by having just one negative play of 5 yards. You have a holding call for 10 yards. The probability sinks even further than that. So you can't shoot yourself in the foot with this offense because they don't have the downhill ability to catch up, right? They can't make up for that lost yardage the way a Drake May team could or a Sam Howell team could. They're just not going to be able to do it. They had 3 runs yesterday, the longest being 12 yards. I mean, and so how are you going to make up for, how are you going to convert 3rd and 16?
Right.
I mean, that's just going to be an impossibility. Or how are you going to convert 3rd and 10, really?
Right.
So there's a variety of problems going on. And I don't know how to address this other than there needs to be wholesale changes. And the saddest part of all of this is that those wholesale changes aren't going to happen in the remaining 3 games of this year.
No, they're not.
I was hoping that this game, North Carolina could build some confidence, build some faith in, their passing game, be able to throw the ball downfield a little better. And, success breeds success. But they didn't have that against Stanford. Meanwhile, Wake goes out and beats Virginia. That game just got a lot harder. So that downside of the offense is troubling for last week for Saturday, even though North Carolina won. But it's even more troubling when you start thinking about the games they have in front of them for the rest of the season. So.
Get in on it, Jason.
I want to go just a little further though, because again, what I want to emphasize is if you don't think that the opposing team can beat you offensively, it does change how much you really try to force the issue offensively. Right? You're content in the first half if you're up 3-0 for a bulk of the first half and they're not moving the football enough to really threaten you. You're content to play that game. You're content. You get up 10 to 0, and they still aren't showing a whole lot of life offensively. You're content, and this is the other part that we talked about on the Game Plan podcast. Of look, if you're playing against a team like Syracuse or like Stanford, where you don't need to score a lot of points to win the game. I mean, we said in this one the magic number was about 24, where if you score 24, you're probably guaranteed to win the game. Well. If your magic number is 24, the way you go in and attack it offensively is going to be different than if you feel like your magic number is 48. Right? I'm going to call this game much closer to the vest, much more wrinkle-free, if I believe that I'm going to win this game with 20 points, with 24 points. And they did that. I mean, the most important number in this game was always going to be turnovers. And Carolina ended up +1. The one turnover they did have was a bad one. I mean, you can't have that happen. He's got enough time on that scramble to either get rid of it or just throw it more quickly before the pressure gets there. And if there's one big fault that keeps coming up for Gio, it's that he consistently thinks he can hold it just a split second longer than he can. And, getting the ball out is the biggest factor for this offense. But I do think we also saw why they have tried so many different offensive line configurations with Blasky out at left tackle and different things, because even though they're better at center with Blasky there, the offensive line as a whole is not necessarily better with him there because of some of the young guys that just they're not quite ready. I mean, they looked better against Syracuse, but Stanford has better players on the defensive line than Syracuse does. So that's what doesn't bode well for the remainder of the season, because the schedule, these were the 2 softest games you're going to play the remainder of the season. The rest of the schedule against Duke, against NC State, these are programs that are going to have enough to, first of all, you're going to have to score. And, do we have any confidence? I mean, what's the magic number going to be against Duke?
Well, that's where I was going to go with the discussion about playing it
42?
close to the vest. Yeah. I mean, at some point, you got to show you can do something.
Yeah. But I mean, again, if you're trying to win the game, you play it to the magic number. You do that. And Belichick is very big on that, on reverse engineering. What do we need? What do we need to win? First and foremost.
100% agree with that.
against Duke, that magic number might be 40, which means you better come out with a whole different approach. And it means it's a whole lot more likely you get blown out, because when you're trying to score 40 on offense with the problems they've got on offense, it can get ugly. So, yeah.
My thing is,
go ahead, Tommy.
No, what I was going to say is my thing is what better game to try to do something different on offense when you know the other team's not going to be able to score, so you can take more chances. Because at some point,
if you turn it over 3 or 4 times and then they do score on those short fields, then you lose.
Yeah, but if you wait until the Duke game or the Wake game, even I don't know how good Wake's offense is, but
it's not very
Duke or State are going to score points, and if you wait until then you're going to get your rear end handed to you, and Freddie Kitchens is going to sit back and play it close to the vest, trying to beat these. Look, this Carolina defense has played well, and we're going to talk about them in the second half, but they haven't played anybody close to Duke or State offensively, and when they did, they got raced by Clemson. But Buck, go ahead, get in back on the offense. I just think I said it, I tweeted it. I think they're not going to change the quarterbacks this year. I don't know why Bryce Baker or Newkirk or even Max Johnson are not getting opportunities. That's clearly not going to happen, barring an injury. And if it does, now would be the time to try it. Freddie Kitchens is going to do what he does, and Bill Belichick's offense anyway. Buck, get in on it. I see people saying we don't criticize them enough. I don't know what the heck they want us to do.
I don't know. Maybe we should build a gallows outside of their house or something.
We need green screen with effigies behind us or something.
But I do want to say that Wanda Hunter 588 or whatever in the comments, she makes a good point. North Carolina going into the fourth quarter with 12 minutes left to go, we were up 20-3. And we all know this about Bill Belichick, is he does not chase points. That's not his thing. And he knows that he's got 17 points he can sit on going down the final 12 minutes of the game. He's going to get possessions in between that 12 minutes, and he figures he's got enough gas in the tank to get to the checkered flag. To use the NASCAR analogy, he's got enough gas left to make it all the way around. So there's a part of that I completely get and completely understand. He's got it mapped out in his head. These many points with this much time, the whole situational awareness thing, that I can play this way and walk out of here with a win without doing any more than what we have done. That's fine. I get it. It doesn't explain the first half. That does not explain the first half at all. If you play that poorly in the first half where the outcome's not decided, okay, it's 3-3 at halftime. You've done nothing to build pad a lead that you can rely on and coast down the stretch. So it doesn't explain the first half. A better first half, I'd feel better about the offense. But given the way the first half unfolded, doesn't give me warm and fuzzy feelings about the 3 games North Carolina has left to play. And the part about being too critical of or that we're soft criticizing the team. I don't think I can put it any plainer than this. IC does not get to tell UNC to fire their coaches. I mean, we don't get to demand that you fire Freddie Kitchens. I mean, they don't answer that phone call, or respond to that email. So all we can do is point out what we see on the field, and either they see the same thing or they don't. So that's just how all that goes.
What just happened to Jason?
Did I do that? He's back now, though.
My browser crashed, which is pretty unusual there.
So Jason, your point there, I don't know if you heard Buck about that. I mean, clearly the first half doesn't explain the let's get to 20 points and then sit on it. If they'd have flipped the halves and they would have been up 20-3 at half, then I think that conversation is doable. But 3 points in the first half against Stanford, and then you get to 20, and then you give Stanford the ball back with a chance to win the game at the end there. One busted coverage, one cornerback falls down. You know, we're going to talk about the defense, and the defense bailed out the offense yet again against Stanford. It's just
let me
not
jump in
sustainable.
for a second. The coaching staff did get booed in the first half when they was 3rd and short, and they decided to punt the ball, and the crowd was pretty upset about it. I think they were still in their own territory, but it wasn't a very long third down conversion. So he was playing it very conservatively in the first half, no question.
So, Jason, final thoughts here on the offensive side. I mean, okay, if the line against Wake or Duke or State is 40, I don't see them doing anything differently. I mean, what have they done in the first 9 games that shows you they're going to be able to do something differently or going to even try something differently?
I don't know that we've seen any evidence of that. I don't see them likely to do anything differently. But again, in these last 2 games, I wouldn't have done anything differently because you came out with a win. And you knew based on how the defense was playing and what you were facing offensively, or what you're facing defensively in terms of their offenses, you knew that you probably were going to be able to win the game if you just didn't turn the ball over and you played decent football. So, I don't think we've seen any evidence that they can do anything else or that they will try anything else. But I wouldn't judge too harshly based on 2 wins against teams that you played close to the vest. You played deep. You played Greg Barnes football, right?
100%.
You played Greg Barnes football. Okay, defense.
The question is, how do we know they can do anything different?
I don't think we do, and I don't think they can. But we don't know. We don't know for sure.
Certainly find out. Let me clear up a couple penalty things. Ship had a couple of those.
Okay.
Ship had a holding.
Ship
had a false start. Obviously, Blasky had a couple of those, and then Jordan Hall had one. And Jason, to your point from the game plan, and this is why I want people to make sure they're watching the game plan. You subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get these alerts when we go live. You said that Stanford's defensive line was going to be an issue, and lo and behold, they absolutely wore out Carolina's offensive line for the most part. What did you see from Jordan Hall, from those type moves that looked so good against against Syracuse? I mean, comparatively looking ahead, is Stanford's defensive line that good, or is Carolina's offensive line still a major work in progress?
I mean, I think what you saw is a guy that was going against grown men as opposed to, and a guy that's, he's a small, he is a, 19? He's 19 or 20, and he was going up against grown men and struggled with it. He had his hands full, and that happens. That's why we said coming into the year that he was really a year away. He was a project that you're taking for a year away. And, once he got up against top level, not even top level, against grown men, guys with 4 or 5 years in college strength programs who are 285 pounds plus on the defensive line, some of those things, he struggled more. And his technique is still a work in progress. I mean, but some of this is just simply you're talking about a young guy against guys that are seniors. So, Stanford has a really, really good backer that the whole offensive line struggled with when he came downhill. They've got 3 pretty good defensive linemen, and those 2 edges are big and use their hands well. I'm not surprised that he had his hands full. Now, this was a baptism by fire for him. This was a good opportunity, right? This is an opportunity to take this back to the tape and, okay, well, if you get your hands here, if your feet are here, you're going to be able to shield that better. Let's go back to work. But, this is not surprising. And this is why he was not first option at the beginning of the season. I mean, this is where they are.
And let me make a couple points too as well before I go to Johnny T-shirt. Somebody in the chat mentioned Gio Lopez. He made a nice throw when he got drilled on one of those plays, and he was 18, 25, 203, 2 touchdowns and an interception or no interceptions. So he had a overall solid game. I just don't like the situations they're getting put in to try to advance the football down the field. But to Jason's point, and to the whole object of the game, you play to win the game. They won 20-15. Shout out to Johnny T-Shirt, JohnnyT-shirt.com, sponsors of the show. Shout out 345 people here in the live chat on Sunday morning. Plenty of content coming your way the rest of the week. But appreciate you starting it with the day after, and appreciate you checking out Johnny T-Shirt. If you're not an Inside Carolina Premium subscriber, go get InsideCarolina.com, subscribe. I'll throw up a QR code for some of you guys that are on the TV screen or however you consume this, and you click on that QR code and it goes, you can sign in and get your Inside Carolina Premium subscription and subsequently get your 10% off Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-shirt.com. Let's talk defense, boys. I mean, we joke on other shows and over the years about so-and-so portion of the program, but Melcart, the Melcart portion of the show is becoming a real thing. Another 3-sack day, Tyler Thompson with 3 sacks. I mean, these guys are getting after it. I mean, Bob Diaco is worth whatever he's making many times over the way this defensive line has looked and performed for Carolina.
Well, I didn't know if I was going to get to talk or not because Tommy had my mic muted and asked me a question, and my mic is still muted, so I didn't know whether to answer or not. But yes, Melcart is tearing it up, and so is Tyler Thompson. And Thompson is just you give him another 15 pounds of lean muscle mass for next year, and he's going to be really going to be a monster. So yes, those guys are playing great. I think aside from the compulsory pass interference call on Marcus Allen, the secondary played pretty well. You know, the defense, again, we've said this multiple times now. Melcart and Tyler Thompson are turning into superstars, but as far as elite talent across the board on this defense, they don't have elite talent across the board on this defense. They're developing some players. I think Jaden Patterson, Gregory Smith, those guys, along with Melcart and Thompson, Simpson. Did he hurt his ankle and come out all the way, or did he play any after he dinged his ankle? I can't remember. But the defense has players at every level. They don't have elite players at every level, but they're playing elite defensive football. Which I had this conversation with my son-in-law yesterday, that I think you can have an elite offense that doesn't have very many elite players on it. But it's very difficult to have an elite defense unless you've got some elite defensive talent. And they are doing, some people call it smoke and mirrors. I don't care what you call it. It's effective. They should be rightfully proud of what they're doing defensively. How that's going to hold up these last 3 games, we'll have to see.
Jason, your thoughts on the defensive line play?
I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and they ate. I mean, that's the havoc rate in this game was 82nd percentile for Carolina. It's been a long time. We haven't seen a whole lot of havoc created like that. You know, I do think they struggled some against the run. I mean, Stanford had 2.24 offensive line yards per carry. So that's, you know, essentially how long before contact essentially are backs going, or how long are backs are they getting before any yards can be assigned to anything that the back did. So Carolina's defensive front giving up 2.24 yards just to the offensive line. That's not great. And that's something, you know, if I'm going to be critical, and I know some of the fans out there want us to be more critical, then I'm going to highlight that and say, well, Stanford came in dedicated to run the football, and they were able to run the football some. They 4.52 yards per carry, right? So they did have some success running the ball, but as soon as it became a passing situation, Carolina just flat out overwhelmed them. They couldn't protect against Carolina's front. And again, you highlighted the edges. I think you also have to give credit to Simpson as well. Andrew Simpson had an excellent game as a pass rusher. But I mean, if Stanford had a quality back, like a guy that was healthy and was a legit, say all conference type back, this would have been a very rough outing for Carolina's front because they gave up a lot in the run game. It's just the backs didn't take a bunch of advantage of it. By the way, to compare that, Carolina's offensive line yards per carry was 0.8. Right? So 2.24 versus 0.8. Right there's why you have the play disparity in the first half, right? One team's getting, essentially if the back just gets hit and falls forward each play, 3 yards per play. The other one, if the back gets hit and falls forward, still less than 1. So, I do think, though, when we're talking about the defensive line, I mean, you have to hat tip Bob Diaco again, because what they've been able to do over the course of the season with that group is you have seen them take strides fundamentally and just in general in terms of confidence. They're playing like a quality defensive line, a good front, even though they don't have, a bunch of 4-star guys up there. They don't have a bunch of Jahvaree Ritzies or, we could go down the whole list of guys that they've had on the roster in recent years, and they don't have a bunch of those guys, but they've still been able to cobble together and build a quality defensive line. Now, I do think Wake Forest is another where you should be able to have some success offensively or defensively against them. I mean, I think Wake will struggle to score against Carolina. As soon as you get past that one, the rest of the season changes. It's going to get a lot harder. But yeah, I think, again, the defensive line has, over the course of the season, become the strongest unit on the team, which I think is a bit of a surprise. Coming into the season, we felt like the defensive tackles would be a weakness. They've been a strength, and the line as a whole has become the strength of the whole team.
Yeah, and you got to shout out Smith Vilbert, another hustle play to get on a fumble. Kamari House, 13 tackles, 8 of them solo, had that interception, pass breakup. They have just – this is an interesting Sunday morning here on the Day After podcast. Jason with the infestation. Don't kill ladybugs. My house is wrapped up in ladybugs. Don't kill those, Jason. That's bad mojo. We're talking with Jason Staples and Buck Sanders here on the Day After. Bucks, you mentioned Marcus Allen, the proverbial guaranteed pass interference on the young man. Other than that, I thought he played pretty well. His PFF grades do not reflect it, but the tackling PFF grades certainly do. But just the secondary in general, they're going to have to be better here in the next, well, not next week, but a couple weeks after that. But just more thoughts on the back end of the defense, because I think we all agree the defensive line's been a revelation for this Carolina team, and Diaco has really done work with them. Oof, Jason mentioned it would have been nice to see him 3-4 years ago with all that at least recruited talent in. But your thoughts on the back end, Buck?
Well, my thoughts on the back end are like a lot of my thoughts that have to do with football is it's a complementary game, right? If you're getting good pressure on your defensive line from your defensive line, and you've got guys that can get to the quarterback, make the quarterback uncomfortable, and make him make bad decisions, your back end's going to look a lot better. You're going to look much better on the back end if you're getting that kind of pressure on the quarterback. And I thought the Stanford quarterback actually, for a freshman, played pretty well on that. He didn't have a running back really, but in that's a different story. But I thought overall the secondary played pretty well. Now with Marcus Allen, he's always involved in a call every week that could go either way, and it always goes against him, except for last week, I think. But other than that, I think Patterson has been a revelation. Gregory Smith has played well. A lot of guys in that secondary are playing their butts off, and I'm going to be curious to see what happens if Thaddeus Dixon makes it back this year. Is there any chance he'll make it back this year? Or is he out or is he done for the year, Tommy? Do you know?
Conflicting reports. Belichick last week said he's getting closer. We've heard others, but we'll see.
It'll be interesting what happens if he comes back and starts. Or would they sub out Patterson for Allen? I don't know. I mean, it's a question. But it certainly would help depth, at least, if Dixon could come back. I think, Belichick has a very holistic approach to defense, and he knows better than anybody, has forgotten more than anybody about how to compensate the D-line with the secondary and vice versa, and how to utilize your linebackers to make all of that fit together. So I'm not all that concerned about the secondary play. They're going to get challenged a lot more against Duke and against State. But, I kind of think, I don't know why I think this, but I do think that, as particularly with NC State, Belichick may get tricky for the first time of the season.
That's going to be fun to talk about when we get there. Jason, talking about the defense, and I asked about the back end, and I want your comments on that, but I was looking at PFF grades. Again, grain of salt. I'm not sure the last time I remember seeing 3 defensive linemen leading the PFF grades for North Carolina, which goes to show the improvement there is all. But just the back end of the defense, I thought the linebackers, we mentioned Simpson, mentioned House, played well. Gavin Gibson had a nice game. Just overall for you, I mean, it makes it easier when the boys up front are eating, as you said it. But your thoughts on the defense as a whole here?
Well, I mean, I think when you were playing this, again, we talked about this coming into the game. When you're playing against a first-time starter at quarterback, when you are going against an offense that has struggled to put up points all season, you have to just be really solid. You just do your job and make sure that you don't provide easy opportunities. And that's what they did. I mean, when you take a look at the coverage on the night, one of the things that they did, or afternoon, I guess, one of the things that they did well, we talked about this in the lead up, is they changed looks. They changed, they would present a too high look, and then they'd rotate to one high. They would, jump to inside leverage on this side, these sorts of things. That one of the reasons that they had so much success in terms of actually getting the quarterback on the ground, not just getting sacks, is that the secondary was able to force the quarterback to hold on to it just a split second longer, because he had a pre-snap. All right, that's where I'm going. Oh, it just changed. And you could see him, the wheels spinning a little bit, and it's like, oh, too late. And that's not just a defensive line phenomenon. That's the secondary taking care of business. And I'm very much of the camp that that pressure is a defensive front thing. Sacks are something that is a combination of defensive front and secondary. If you get pressure but not sacks, that means that your secondary is normally getting beat. If you're getting sacks, that means that you're getting some pressure, but there's also not a comfortable outlet for the quarterback to get the ball out. Or, in some cases, you're facing a quarterback that's just a slow processor. But in this one, it wasn't so much slow processing, although he's not, that was not Tom Brady on the other side. I mean, Carolina wasn't facing the 85 Bears or Tom Brady. But at the same time, he was slowed down repeatedly by what they were doing on the back end, and they were consistent in being able to match well and be in the right position to take away the easy stuff. And when you force teams that aren't especially talented, aren't especially good at executing to execute precisely, then you're gonna get the results that you got. One thing I will say that was a concern is when Stanford went up tempo, they scored 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. right?
How much was that the defense getting worn out a little bit?
I don't think it was the defense getting worn out. I think it was actually their quarterback finding some comfort. And I think, actually, if I'm Frank Reich after this game, I contemplate going up-tempo the remainder of the season with that young quarterback to simplify some things for him, just because, or at least varying tempo and using a little bit more up-tempo stuff, because offensively, they suddenly got untracked. I think they went up tempo on 3 drives and they scored 17 points or whatever it was. I guess 18 or I'm sorry, they scored 1 touchdown and a field goal on those 2 drives. So yeah, they because they didn't score 18 points total, it was 15. But they, when they went up tempo, there were more opportunities when they went throw first and just got the ball out of his hands quickly. So that is something that I'm going to take a closer look at when I'm evaluating the film myself later today. But I think on the whole, the defensive backfield more than did their jobs and held their water long enough to let the defensive line eat.
Talking with Buck and Jason on the day after. We're going to wrap this one up. Not a whole lot more to talk about, Buck, but I'm going to let you get the final. Jason, you can have a final word, but Buck, you play to win the game. And as ugly as it was in Kenan Stadium, it goes into the win column. What do I always say? There's no pictures on the scorecard. Thank goodness for that. The only mark on the scorecard is 1 in the win column. Buck, overall final thoughts.
I think there's 2 things we should talk about before we leave, at least 2. The punter has become a quality punter for North Carolina. He wasn't a quality punter when he got here, but he punted the ball 6 times, 2 of them inside the 20, 1 for 55 yards, 2 over 50 yards, and just had a solid day punting the ball. And I can remember him shanking them. And, dribbling him out of bounds 10 yards down the field when he first got to UNC. So shout out to Tom, our Australian punter. That needs to be talked about. But also the thing that probably warmed the cockles of my heart more than anything else this week was the special teams play of Jonathan Agumado. Is that, I'm saying that right? That sounds right. 41.
You like the old school sickle tackle, didn't you?
Oh my God! That he clotheslined that guy, and I think that's more than just him making a good play. I think that is part of the culture filtering down. That when you go out and you're making a special teams play or any kind of tackle, you're not just trying to get the guy on the ground. You're trying to punish that dude, and for having the audacity to carry the ball in front of your face. And so, that was a tremendous play. You see those kinds of plays, and you think about them, and they stick out in your mind. The old Greg Jones run against who was it? The Carolina
Dexter
Reed.
So I played with the funny thing about that is I played with Greg Jones. I played with Greg Jones, and then when I started coaching at Southern Durham, I was coaching with Dexter Reed. So how about that for a split?
Don't bring that one up to Dexter. Goodness.
Dexter just smiled about it.
But those things just stick out in your mind and become an example of who you are as a program, and hold out that sort of play or performance to the rest of the team as this is what our standard should be. And so I give a shout out. He's another guy that I think every week Jason and I have to go to the football roster to look up a name. I'd never heard of him before. 6'2", 220-pound redshirt freshman from Dallas, Texas. Heck of a play, young man, and hope to see you again on the UNC football field.
Jason, final words here. I think to use another one of Buck's sayings, the feathers have been plucked. But Carolina beat Stanford. Wake Forest next. Wake Forest beat Virginia. Virginia looked terrible without a quarterback. That's interesting how that works, and how good they look sometimes with a quarterback. Wake also beat SMU that somebody mentioned in the chat. So it's going to be a tough week for North Carolina. But final thoughts on this one, Jason?
Well, I do see a comment that if I was the coach, it says if Staples was the coach, I guess once you get 20, you don't even play offense anymore. Just take some knees and punt. You know, that would have won this game. So I guess if you want to take that approach, that was the approach, pretty close to the approach that was taken by Bill Belichick, who's going to be in the NFL Hall of Fame this next class. So I feel like I'm in good company here.
Shout out to the game plan, guys, because all of y'all said 20 was the magic number. Oh, except for Tommy.
Well, I agreed that 20 was the magic number. I just thought
he was uncharacteristically kind of off base this week, but you and Greg were right on it. That 20 points was what you needed to win the game.
Yeah. So we'll I just want to say, look, if my style of coaching boils down to this: if I need 20 and only 20 to win the football game, I want to score 20. And if I need 45 to win the football game, I'm going to do everything I can to get to 45. Because
we'll see if that's in their wheelhouse, though.
Right. What I want to do, if I'm coaching, my style of coaching is, what do I need to do to win? And I'm gonna go through those processes, and I'm gonna do what I need to do to win. Style points, like you said, Tommy. Style points don't matter. Now, if you got a Caleb Wilson out there, you can get some style points every so often. Some pretty nice style points this week, but style points are not what you're playing for. You're playing, and like you said, Agumadu did get some style points on that play, and we've talked about that in terms of special teams is where you see the culture of a team as much as anything, and you have started to see some of that here. But yeah, to me, style points aren't what you're playing for. You're playing to win games. Do I think that they can actually score 40 against the Power 4 team at any point this season? No, I don't. I don't see that happening. But if you don't need to, don't try, because you might actually get beat in the effort. So I think they took the right approach. I think, again, enjoy a win, y'all. Enjoy it. You just got a big win. If you're a Carolina fan today, look what happened against Kansas with men's basketball a couple days ago. And then you get a win at home in a beautiful North Carolina day at Kenan Stadium yesterday. Just enjoy your Sunday. Stop trying to find style points on the football side. Enjoy the style points from the basketball side. Get some grilling done or get some good food and enjoy the weekend.
Good way to end it. Also, shout out to the field hockey team that won their 9th straight ACC championship in Louisville over the weekend as well. Jason Staples, Buck Sanders. I'm Tommy Ashley. We're sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt, johnnyt-shirt.com. Get your Inside Carolina subscription here on the On3 Network. If you have not already, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Look, the YouTube channel blew up after the Kansas game. We've far exceeded 30,000 subscribers. Join up. Make sure you get all these YouTube's notifications or however it works when you're a subscriber there when we go live, because we will be live much more. Look forward to the Coast to Coast podcast tonight live. Look forward to Vip and Shot Show. Maybe Vip and Joel Berry getting fired up for the basketball side. And, of course, we'll be back for the game plan on Wednesday or Thursday night. Also, the basketball show with Rob Harrington, Justin Jackson, and me on Monday nights. More post-game basketball. What a time to be alive if you're an Inside Carolina subscriber here on the YouTube channel and on the website. Shout out to everybody else. Thanks, Buck and Jason.